Can I thank you firstly for coming at relatively short notice. I'm here to tell you that Adelaide Football Club recruiting manager Matthew Rendell today resigned effective immediately. Matthew stood down in response to media reports and comments made in a recent discussion with AFL Community Engagement Manager James Mifsud. While Matthew disputes the interpretation and the context of the reports of that meeting, he is aware that to continue in the role would be to attach those comments to the club. I've spoken to Jason at length and Matthew, and have any such commentary associated with our club in any way is absolutely untenable. Our club has a strong and proud history of recruiting, fostering and developing Aboriginal players, and it fully intends to keep doing so in the future. So I say emphatically, there has never ever been a discussion in any forum, in any part of the club, suggesting changes with respect to that continuing philosophy of selecting and nurturing young Aboriginal talent. I'm sure you have questions.
First of all, Stephen, you say he resigned. Would have he been sacked?
In saying to you, Mike, that it was untenable, yes.
So, the basis of what's said, why would it be said something like that? Is he a loose cannon, or is he? There must be some basis for what he's saying.
I'm not going to take you inside the absolute detail of their exchange, other than to say that the comments that are out there at the moment are attributed to our former recruiting manager, and we can't have them attached to the club. So you can make your own assessment about whether they're loose or not. I say to you in the most emphatic manner, at list management, at board level, at management, in no forum in any part of the club has there ever been any suggestion about changing our recruiting policies, particularly with relevant to Aboriginal players, which remains a very strong platform for our recruiting.
So, Stephen, in what context did he make the remark? We don't understand where it comes from.
I think the only thing, and I have no doubt that Matthew will speak at some stage, part of the explanation to me was that Matthew was trying to help in terms of Aboriginal pathways. But when those comments, misinterpreted or otherwise, out of context or otherwise, surfaced, clearly they weren't accepted as appropriate by the two AFL representatives who were in the meeting. Now, our position on it, quite clearly, is that an agent of our club talking, misinterpreted or otherwise, about those sorts of things is, again, an untenable situation.
When Andrew Demetrio rang you today, what did he ask of you?
I actually knew of it yesterday, and was to have spoken to Jason. I found it difficult to find him until today, and then I had a discussion following that with Matthew.
Which part, you said that Matt Rendell disagreed with the interpretation, which part did he disagree with? How did he disagree with it?
About how, what the point he was trying to make. Simple. But again, I pick up, to make my point, I pick up an online article today that says about an AFL club not accepting recruiting white Aboriginal players unless they have white parents. That club, any tick of the clock is going to be our club, and it's not right because there's no such policy.
So, with his departure today, and I take it that's effective immediately, what sort of hold does that leave, whether it be Stephen or Rob, comment on this, for your recruiting going forward?
Well, Mike, we're well geared in that area, so that's the least of our worries, in the sense that we have a recruiting operative, a very senior recruiting operative in Melbourne, and he'll step up to the plate.
So I've got to ask, how did he think that was helping?
I can't answer that. Honestly, I can't answer it.
Did he answer it to you? Did you ask the same question? How did you think that was
That's as much, without his interpretation and the other people's interpretation, which gets difficult in its translation. There is a simple message coming from Matthew that he was trying to help. He was trying to get an understanding that there are some challenges in terms of pathways. But when this particular aspect came out, as you've seen in the press today, that everyone from the AFL to our club and elsewhere has taken offence at, therein lies the problem.
So how long has he held that philosophy?
The philosophy of, well, I've never heard that philosophy before. Just to make this point, I've never heard that philosophy before.
Given the
When
fact...
did he express it in this meeting? How long ago has he made this remark?
I'm not 100% certain of when they met, but it was going back mid to late January.
Given the fact that this week we've already seen Bernie Vince and the publicity surrounding that, this obviously is going to create some sort of storm in terms of the public, and you've got a big game tomorrow night. Does this tell us anything about the way this club is being run at the moment, that there are things that happen that just shouldn't happen?
We've got 2 items that have happened this week that shouldn't happen.
Are you shattered by the last week, given the season hasn't even officially started yet?
Do you really think I want to be sitting here talking to you about this item?
We should be talking to you about the football that's going to get played tomorrow night, not about this issue. So to say we're disappointed is an understatement.
Yeah, but Rob, that's just the point I'm making, that the fans may be saying this has more to do with the management of the club than it has the people underneath. That someone somewhere is just not getting the message, and it's starting to become more widespread.
Well, I'd dispute that in Matthew's case. I mean, what he's said, I would attribute as personal commentary. As undisciplined and his personal opinions. As Stephen has already alluded to, at no time have these opinions ever been discussed at any level of this football club or taken into account. I mean, the message that I think we should be delivering today to you is that our club has a long and proud history of recruiting, selecting, inducting, nurturing, fostering Aboriginal players. And that is not going to change forthwith.
Have you spoken to any of those players?
Given that you have this recruiting manager philosophy, how do you know it hasn't influenced who he's overlooked in the draft and in looking for national recruiters?
Well, in the end, the selection is a collaborative. You know that it's a collaborative. And in any of those forums where that collaborative plays out, at no time has that position on recruiting ever been discussed.
But have you sensed he's been prejudiced in those discussions?
No.
Have the Indigenous players that are on the list given you a reaction to the decision you've made today?
They have not, Tom. We've spent the day trying to garner get the facts together and deal with it. So no, I haven't spoken to our Aboriginal contingent, nor indeed our past player Aboriginal contingent, who I'm certain will be disappointed, but they'll be very proud with their club that brought it to a head and brought it to a head very quickly.
I know you did that really quickly, but how badly does this tarnish the overall brand, you think, of the club?
I'd like to think that people out there understand that this being brought to a head really quickly and the separation of those comments from our club demonstrates our lack of tolerance towards it. Is it what we're saying? Is it what we're saying, or is there a?
Yeah, Tom dealt with really, really quickly, and they're not opinions shared by this club, anybody within it.
In terms of resigning and sacking, would you prefer to have made the decision without Matthew even having had the chance to make it? You did sack him rather than have him resign?
Look, there's an argument there for imagery, if you like, but as was a relatively short discussion and a very quick level of understanding from Matthew about what it would mean to keep going with those comments in his own view, use his view, rightly or wrongly, in or out of context, knowing full well that they would be attributed to the club. And in turn, a question about our integrity, about our values. And our values and our integrity, as any staff member, any player will tell you, are front and square all the time. And so, whichever way you want to carve it up, Matthew decided to stand down. He read the play very quickly and stood down.
And he didn't explain why you would have that concept?
Say that again?
He didn't explain why you developed that concept?
Oh, no, only in the context of it was meant to be, in his view, a constructive, helpful sort of discussion about some of the challenges in Aboriginal pathways. But, you know, that's... I mean, in many ways, that's irrelevant because all I know in the end is that a person employed by this club making those sorts of comments will inevitably be attached to our club.
So it was with him, just confirming again, it was with an AFL official that he made the comments to?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's in the press today, Tom, that Jason Mifsud was one of those. It was also another person who works in his department, and Matthew.
The reason why Jason didn't
I don't know their timing. Don't know their timing. So no, I can't answer that.
The tone of Andrew's discussion with you today? Because he was certainly hot public on 3AW today.
He was.
Very hot on the issue.
Well, we all are.
What has Andrew Dimitriou's response been since you told him what you've done?
It was a very matter-of-fact discussion, Tom, about the path that we were going down here, and he was very supportive. In fact, been very supportive throughout in terms of understanding that that's not this club's philosophy, not this club's values, not what we stand for, and he knows that, the AFL know that, everyone in the club knows that, in particular our current and past Aboriginal players know that. That's why it becomes such an untenable situation to have, rightly or wrongly, these comments even remotely attached to our club. So in the meantime, what we'll do is continue to do the enormous amount of work that we currently undertake in APY and in our programs and in our recruiting processes to demonstrate, not to demonstrate anything other than that's normal business for us. So understand how out of sync these sorts of things are.